Good evening and welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm your host, Joshua Solomon, and unfortunately JP could not be with us tonight, but he is watching and maybe he'll call in and say hi. As always, Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades is sponsored by the Wilson Hill Pistol Club, wilsonhillpistol.org, the oldest sports shooting club in the state. Our membership meeting Our membership meeting is tonight at 7 o'clock. I forgot. It's the first Wednesday of every month, 7 o'clock, 1732 Lakeshore Road. Feel free to show up. Membership is open, so we don't have any restrictions. We're no waiting list, anything like that. You can go to the website and sign up for safety classes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Tonight, we have a returning guest from the worldwide tour. Lynn Blankenblecker. How you doing, Lynn?
I'm good, thanks. Good to be back.
Yeah.
So, thanks for having me.
I think you came on like a week before you left, or
I
something
did,
like that.
I did,
and
yeah.
And then off to American Samoa.
Off I went, yeah.
To do something a little bit different for you. I mean, because you retired as a captain in the Navy.
Yes.
You are also a nurse.
Yes.
And you are also a lawyer.
Yes.
So you're a woman of many talents.
Is this a job interview?
So you were in the Navy. You were a nurse in the Navy. We've had you on the show. You were a nurse on the hospital ship during COVID.
Yeah, the Comfort. Yeah.
But now you're returning from a legal trip.
Yes,
You went to career number 3 this time around.
Yeah, I did. I had the really, the privilege to be able to serve the people of American Samoa with my daughter, who is also an attorney. We went together as a mother-daughter team. I think the first ever mother-daughter team as attorneys on the island of American Samoa. It's a U.S. territory. For those of you who don't know where it is, it's out in the South Pacific. It would, think Australia, think it's a little 7-island chain. It's made up of the Manua Islands, and I was on the big island of Tutuila, where we served the 47,000 people of American Samoa with our legal services. So my daughter was a criminal prosecutor, and I was a civil attorney and the director of consumer protection out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So did you become like a true My Cousin Vinny type trial lawyer?
We were trial lawyers out there. My daughter was much more of a trial lawyer than I was. I had a civil caseload, and so anybody who filed suit against the government, most of them were wrongful terminations or worker comp claims that were denied. They would file those, and we would have civil litigation before the administrative law judge. Although there were other pieces of really big litigation. There were several pieces of litigation, civil litigation, that came out of COVID. Folks who were challenging the government shutdown during, whether it was to assemble or whatever. And, American Samoa is a wildly religious island. There's a church on every corner. It's very, very Christian island. And so people were very angry when they couldn't.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot too. It was one of the things that Gary was most angry about was the shutting down of the churches.
Yeah. And so those types of civil lawsuits, American Samoa was involved in the nationwide Master Tobacco Settlement Agreement back in 1998, when the tobacco companies were sued for their trade practices, mostly targeting children and getting people addicted to cigarettes. American Samoa joined in on that lawsuit, and so we're still seeing litigation come out of that all these years later. So I managed that, and we started with the opioid settlements. So in the last couple of years, the opioid companies have been sued, the manufacturers plus the chain pharmacies, for their contribution to the opioid crisis in this country, and the territory was also affected by that. And so I prepared all the documents and entered us into the litigation to join in that master settlement agreement to bring funds to the territory to be able to combat the opioid crisis there, just like every state has done here.
So tell us what American Samoa is like. Not you know, I mean, this is an island nation, you know, probably a great place to go vacation and whatnot. But in relation to the United States, it's called American Samoa. It's not a state, but it's a U.S. territory.
It is an
So
unincorporated and unorganized territory.
So does it
yes.
run itself as its own separate country?
It does.
Like you worked for the Attorney General's office. Do they structure themselves in the same way an American judicial system structures itself? Like, how does that work?
So I'm glad you asked that question because I learned so much while I was there, and it was fascinating law to practice. So there's tribal law or territory law, and then there's also U.S. law. And so the court structure would remind you a lot of the U.S. court structure. Instead of a district court and a superior court, we had a district court and a high court. The high court also served as the Supreme Court of the territory. The court system, though, however, in the high court, there was a justice, there was a high court justice or judge, and then there were two cultural advisors on either side. They called them associate judges or associate justices, but in fact they were village chiefs. They were cultural advisors, and they served to bring in a sort of cultural feel to it. So very interestingly, the way the system works is they follow the U.S. Constitution, and they have their own Constitution. Their own Constitution actually starts with a preamble that says we want to preserve our culture here. And so their preamble looks different than ours, where they want to preserve their heritage, their rituals, their customs, and in doing so, their Constitution is tailored toward that. For example, for all intents and purposes, guns are illegal in the territory. Most people don't own a gun. Guns are not a thing you can own. It takes very special people, and there are only very special firearms that can be had in the country. And so it's not like the United States with those freedoms and those liberties. So you have the U.S. Constitution and you have the American Samoa Constitution. Land pretty much drives everything. Land is very territorial as far as that goes, and that stems from years and years and years of culture. Hundreds of years of tradition throughout the entire South Pacific. And so land ownership is communal. So the way that works is families own the land, and you don't particularly own like a piece of land. Like I could never buy land because I have no Samoan blood in me. You have to have at least 51% Samoan blood to be able to purchase land or own land in American Samoa. And so as a result of that, like I couldn't vote in American Samoa. So I was a resident, sort of, in that I lived there, but I lived in one of the very few rental houses there are in the territory, but I can't vote. I couldn't vote for governor. So, which I want to mention something, because I think this show is a really good platform for this. So, I left the United States. But my home is still in Concord, and I still had my house there, still pay my property tax, still nobody lived in there other than my family, right? But I got a P.O. box in American Samoa because I wanted to get my mail for the last year. So I come back, and yesterday I went to early vote. They kicked me out of they kicked me out of having being registered as a voter in New Hampshire.
Because you had
a P.O. box in American Samoa. So I was like, oh my God, I just lost my constitutional right to vote.
Well, you didn't lose it. You're back now. You can register again.
I had to re-register. But the point being is all I did was change my P.O. box. They still found me to pay my property tax on my property.
Your P.O. box was no longer in New Hampshire.
However, I don't have voting rights. I should have still been eligible for an absentee ballot. I am a citizen of the United States and a resident of New Hampshire, where I own a home and pay for a house.
But you were, well, I get it. So you weren't registered to vote in American Samoa.
I couldn't.
So what they should have treated you like was like a college student going off to college.
Or the military.
And so that you were be able to absentee vote.
Right. I know. Anyway, that was a little shocking to me.
But the fact that you had a permanent address in another location that wasn't a college campus, and it wasn't a ship, it wasn't a deployed base. It was.
But it wasn't a permanent residence either. I mean, I was just a visitor
So who kicked you off
the
voter rolls?
City of Concord, which I thought was pretty funny. So then.
So how does the what do they call it, the administer of the voter registration list? What do they call it? That's not what they call it. But there's an office as someone who's responsible for the voter registration list.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
your city
so-
clerk's office. Yeah.
So they're the ones that kicked you off?
Oh, yeah, they kicked me right out of there, which unbeknownst to me. And then to make matters worse is I went across the hall over to the property tax place, and I wanted to give them my veterans, information for my property tax credit. And they were like, oh, we don't show that you're a resident of New Hampshire. It's like, but you'll take my money for my house.
But
now, won't you?"
but you're still sending me a tax bill, right? Are you not sending me a tax bill?
Right, so they kicked me out, too.
How about refunding me that tax for the last 12 months?
Right, so I had to go in there and fill out a form to say, no, I really still live here, and this is still my home. So it's funny, I'm kind of an alien right now in my own.
Do you have a driver's license?
I do, and I have a real ID from New Hampshire.
Yeah, but is your driver's license valid now that you're no longer a citizen?
Who
Do you have to
knows,
go
right?
redo it?
Can you? I hope not. I would hope not. But anyway, and that was another thing. You can't hold two real IDs, right? And so when American Samoa was putting, when I got there and tried to get a driver's license, they wanted to give me a real ID, and they were either like forfeit one or the other. And I said, I'm keeping my New Hampshire one. I will go back home. And they said, fine, here's a regular driver's license. So I didn't hold an American Samoa real ID.
How does that work? Because I have a real ID, my
Mm-hmm.
driver's license, but I also have a passport, which
which is
isn't really.
fine.
But I have a passport card, which is effectively a real ID.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I have a passport card, and I have a driver's license, and I have a passport. I have 3 IDs that should be absolutely solid wherever I go.
Right. Well, that'll is just don't go to American Samoa because you get into some muddy water there. I found out. But anyway, the structure. Getting back, I totally digress. But the structure is such that with the Matai system, the Matai is the chief, so you have a paramount chief, and then the paramount chief. Each village has a high chief. And then depending on the size of the village, you'll have other high chiefs, or you'll have basically family chiefs. And then each village has clans, and you have your chiefs, and then you have your high talking chiefs, and those are the chiefs that go and talk. And then you have your talking chiefs. So there's a big chief structure.
And how does that chief structure work? Is it really just seniority within the tribe, or is there like a selection process?
No, it's a selection. So
Okay.
if your father was chief, then the firstborn son, and I don't really fully
Well,
understand.
that's what I'm saying. So that's a
Yes.
family.
It's a family. It's
but
passed down by
It's
lineage,
not
right.
like it's not like anybody can become chief.
No, not really. But the younger generation, it was funny because I met 2 young men when we were over on the island of Ofu. And I asked them both if they were chiefs of their village, thinking, they were chiefs working through the hierarchy. And they're like, nope, don't want any part of it. And so they were offered chief. They don't even have the traditional tattoo. But many of the chiefs will go get that traditional tattoo. It's a rite of passage. I don't know if you've seen the Samoan tattoo. Samoan men are tattooed from the waist to the knees, and everything in between is tattooed. And there's a traditional, it takes about, I think 7 days to do the full tattooing, and you're there every single day. Some people can't tolerate it, and so it can take a couple of months. But they take you into a fale, which is a little, usually a dirt or concrete floor with some poles and a roof over it. And they take you into there, and there's a person who's the puller that pulls the skin. Then there's a traditional tattoo artist. They call it tattoo because they use a little tapping tool, so it's like tap, 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 tap,
Yeah.
right? And very ritualistic. It's very somber. They do not drink. They do not, you are totally sober during this, and part of that rite of passage is experiencing the pain of getting the tattoo and overcoming it. And the women are tattooed, I believe, from like their upper thighs to their knees, and their tattoo looks different. But there are some women chiefs now, and that's kind of the structure. And then the chief of the village will tell you where you're going to build your house. So if you belong to a clan and there's certain land, they'll say, Joshua, you can build your house right over there. That's where you build, and then everybody brings supplies, and they build these houses. Many homes don't have running water. Many homes don't have electricity or air conditioning. I was lucky. I had both in my house. A lot of homes have no windows. They're just cutouts. And they build, they just continue to build as they go along. And there's no property tax. There's no rent or mortgage or anything like that. Homes are just built on this land because it's all communal. But Also, there's no homelessness. I never saw a single homeless person or person in the street asking for anything.
So you had a place, you said there's no rent or mortgage,
No, I rented because I rented. So my piece of land next door to me was the village chief. He lived there. Then my property, the woman who bought it is Samoan. Her husband was a Palangi like me, non-Samoan, and so she owned the land. And she bought a strip of land from the chief. He actually sold that property. And let me tell you something. His brothers and sisters that live in the village are not happy about that. You're kind of an outcast if you lived in one of those two houses, I found out. And then the gentleman and the wife who bought the property, they rent it out. And so they just rented it a normal, like United
Right.
States would rent a piece of land.
I gotcha. I gotcha.
And then you're responsible for your own utility bills.
All right, so you got day-to-day, boring legal stuff, all kinds of stuff. You
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
saw all kinds of
I
similar
learned
crazy
so
stuff that you would
much.
normally see here,
Yeah.
but maybe you haven't because you haven't actually spent a large portion of your career doing, like, have you ever spent an entire year dedicated to legal practice?
Yes, yes. So I did that at Hillsborough County and some other places.
okay.
But I will tell you this: the funny thing is most of the crimes came out of land disputes. People came on your property and stole your bananas, and seriously, that's trespassing and theft. If somebody comes and cuts the bananas off somebody else's banana tree, but
I would think on an island, to some extent, things were very valuable because
oh yeah, yeah.
you're self-sustaining.
Correct.
right?
And
you have to be self-sustaining.
Most people lived off the land. Taro, breadfruit, papayas, bananas, coconuts, fish was like your staple diet there. But it was interesting because public peace disturbance is a crime. So swearing in public is a crime. And it is punishable by jail. Marijuana, it doesn't matter how much it carries the
I'd
same
be in
penalty.
jail twice a day for swearing.
No. And
Wait a minute, you're a sailor. How did you survive?
I didn't, man. I should be incarcerated. But the marijuana carries the same penalty as meth over there. So they
Yeesh.
take drugs seriously, but they do not have a single dose of fentanyl on the island.
Uh-huh.
So, take that for what it's worth. We didn't see the drug problem like you see in the United States. And that's because of the family. The family kept that stuff in check,
Well, that's something that we've always said on this show as
Yeah.
well, right? The family unit is the basis of Western society. It's the basis of moral and I mean, that's how you raise
Yep.
a civilization.
And the most feared thing on the island was the Samoan mama. I'm not kidding. Those Samoan mamas had
Now,
a lot
would you
of power.
put the Samoan mama up against an Italian mom or a French mom?
I think those Italian mamas could definitely hold their place there against the Samoan mama. But respect was incredible. You should have seen it. You'd go to these dinners. Family dinners are a big thing. They call it to'ana'i. On Sundays, the whole family got together. They would cook the fish, the taro, the breadfruit, the pulasami, any of the food in an earth oven called an umu. So the boys would go out, clear the area, get the lava rocks, heat them up. Prepare the food, cover it with banana leaves, and then the amount of time it took to weave 3 baskets out of coconut fronds, that's how long it took to cook the umu. Then they'd load everything into the baskets and bring it in the house. And then these long tables would have banana leaves on them, and you would serve your food family style, and there'd be, 20, 30, 40, 50 people at the table, and you just take the food and you put it on your banana leaf and you eat with your hands. And that's how they do every Sunday. They go to church, they eat the umu.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was very family oriented, and the kids, would sit down last, and the kids would clear the table, and the kids would serve the food. Very, very, very respectful
Yeah.
of their elders.
So what else? So what else did you do in American Samoa? Did you travel? I mean, you were
my
down there. We had all kinds. There's Australia.
Oh,
There's
it was
a bunch of
beautiful.
islands. There's the Solomon Islands.
Yep,
There's, right?
yep,
I mean,
Tahiti. So I truly, we took every opportunity we had to get away. It was funny because the island of Samoa, which is different, they drive on the other side of the road, they have a different currency system, is 25-minute flight away. So it was easy to get to on a little puddle jumper. However, it was the next day when you got there, because you crossed
Right.
the international date line, which I thought was kind of fun. But we went to Samoa several times. We went to Fiji. We got to travel through the Asawa Islands. We did Tahiti. We did Tonga. We swam with the whales in Tonga. Truly I mean, that was a life-changing event. That was like soul-changing to swim in the water, literally right next to a giant whale, you know, the humpbacks and their babies. They had come to Tonga to calve, but never in my life have I seen snorkeling like this. I've been all over the world. The snorkeling was by far the best. The reefs are just untouched. They're beautiful. They're pristine. It was gorgeous.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it really was beautiful. And to be able to experience that many cultures with a lot of similarities, you know, dance is very important, drumming and music is very important. They're still very tribal. Food was very important, family was very important. There were a lot of similarities, but you'd see these little unique twists, you know. So a Samoan dancer would wear a full pulatasi, so she'd have a beautiful dress on, you know, that went from the floor and covered everything, right? Whereas a Tahitian dancer would wear a very skimpy little grass skirt and very little on top. More of their dance had to do with a lot of hip action, whereas the Samoans were much more graceful. So it was very interesting to see how they communicated through dance. Most of their dance was around things that were important, like the coconut. And they'd have whole celebrations on the coconut. They literally used the coconut for everything. They ate the coconut, they drank out of the coconut shells, they used the coconut shells for tools. The husk they used as paint brushes, and they used it to fuel the fire to build the umu. The trees they used for canoes and for toys for their children. The palm fronds they used as plates. It was just amazing to see their resourcefulness with the land. Truly, truly an exceptional experience. I'm so glad I did it.
Nice.
And I got the privilege to work and watch my daughter. She was a criminal attorney, I was a civil attorney, and just to watch my daughter in action, what a gift. We don't get to see, you know, most of us, we don't get to see what our kids do day to day when they grow up, and it was just truly a gift to get to watch her in action. She's a tremendous lawyer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
So, you guys are back?
We are.
What are your plans?
So my daughter is currently looking for jobs. She owns land in Loudon and will be building a house at some point, hopefully in the near future. And, you know, she's looking for that forever job. And, you know, I'm just looking for another job. I don't want to stop working just yet. You know, I hope I have another good 10 years of work in there. The unfortunate thing is, you know, New Hampshire doesn't provide jobs for people with my skill sets. So I've been interviewing outside.
Come on, we got all the administrative, governmental administrative skills that you had to have taken up in the Navy. Mm-hmm. You don't become a captain without being an administrator, right? You get the nursing skills. Mm-hmm. And of course, you got the legal skills. We're being told that the legal backlog is huge.
It is, and you know, if I wanted to go back and be like,
whether or not you want to do it is another thing.
well, you know, I tried bedside nursing during the COVID. You know, I was working at the Hillsborough County Attorney's Office Monday through Friday, and at the nursing home on Saturday and Sunday during COVID. And, you know, you hit the nail on the head. The legal system is overwhelmed, you know, certainly on the criminal side, with, you know, and I only prosecuted drugs. I mean, there were all other crimes. I was busy enough. There was me. I think we had a team of 5 or 6 at Hillsborough County that our only focus was on drug offenders. Mm. So that was, you're right, there is a need there. And then, you know, of course, nursing, but my experience during COVID for the nursing was enough. I don't really want to badmouth the profession of nursing.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of discouraging things.
It's just not what it was when I became a nurse. You don't get to take care of your patients. It's very technical. It's very what's the word I want? It's very mechanical. That's really what I want. Mm-hmm. It's mechanical. It's really about, you know, did you document? Did you this? Did you know, they're understaffed, they're under-resourced, and then you're trying to take care of too many patients. It's unsafe, and you know, and I just don't want to dive back into that. Not at my age. I dodged the bullet. You know, recently there was that nurse in Vanderbilt who gave a wrong medication. It was a busy night. She was busy at work. She overrode a system. You know, they have the drugs are all kept in a mechanical system. She overrode the system and grabbed a drug. Unfortunately, she gave the patient the wrong drug and the patient died. That nurse is sitting in jail right now. In jail.
Well,
right?
Overriding the system. But no, I understand. You know, a mistake, and it seems like that's the case with pretty much any profession now. Even
Yeah.
the slightest mistake will land you end of career, career ending, or worse, jail.
Well,
right?
and you know what? For me, as a
Right.
nurse, I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want a system that sets me up. I mean, nursing is a no crap business, right? You mess up, somebody could die, and yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be forced into a system where I'm not able to care for my patients the way I need to care for my patients, right? And
Yeah.
so I really want to back away from that. Is there a need? Yes. Do I have a license? Yes. Is it current? Yes. Should I be out there taking care of my community in that way? Maybe. But the other thing is I also have 37 years of leadership development and leadership skills, and I really need to bring that leadership forward. And the reason for that is we're not retaining our talent. We need to learn, we've lost those leadership skills where when a person comes to work, they feel valued, they understand the mission, they have buy-in to the mission, they feel purpose, and they will go on and achieve excellence and outperform like you expect them to. And we've lost that ability to inspire the excellence and whatever. And so I'd like to bring that because I saw that happen with the young lawyers I was working with.
Yeah.
You couldn't
how does
retain
that
them.
how does that happen though? How do we bring that back? I mean, because that really boils back down to, I hate to say it, the millennial generation. There's an entire generation or two of undereducated folks who come out of the public school system with less than a high school education, but and then there's a lack of motivation. I saw. I'm going to get the numbers wrong, so please don't quote me or sue me. But I think it was Delaware. It's something like 40% of all Delaware high school graduates don't even make 40%. And there's something like 50 some odd schools in the same district who not a single student tests at the reading level of the grade they're in. Not a
Right.
single student. And so when you have an education system that's spitting people out, that's just churning people out, doing the whole mechanical thing, like you were talking about in the nursing profession, we're just churning people out. They have no education, they have no motivation, and they have this in their hand, and they have social media, and everybody wants to be a social influencer, and that's how they want to live their life. And I think there's a lack of motivation, there's a lack of achievement.
Well, I think there's a lot of
There's a
reasons
lot of
for it.
education. There's a lot of reasons for it, but I think there's an entire generation of people who are entering the workforce in their 20s and 30s right now who fall under that umbrella. How would you fix it?
Yeah, but you can inspire excellence in anybody, right? And I think that the key is, first of all, when hitting the generation that was raised with the computer games. Number one, there were no consequences, right? If you were killed, you just hit restart or turned it off and reboot, right? Second of all, there's this very quick to change scenery, right? So when you accomplish level 1, you move to level 2, and level 2 looks different, and level 3, and level 4. But this is a generation of kids who are driven. Don't tell me they're not. They will sit at those computer games and strive to complete them. They'll stay up all night if they have to, to get to the next level, right? And so you just have to look at them differently. Just like our parents, when we were born, what they say, oh, this new generation, they like the Beatles. They don't understand what we understand.
We're at an extreme now. We're at a generation who will not leave the screen and will not do.
But I
will not put in a day's work that brings them calluses on their hands.
I will tell you that when I was commanding officer of an 877 member unit. Yes, I had doctors that were a little older. I had nurses. I had, but I also had young enlisted corpsmen, that generation. And when you give a clear-cut mission and you are transparent and you incentivize them with ways that they want to be incentivized, our generation, my generation, wanted to be incentivized with more money. We would work every shift, every day of every week if we could make more money, because I was raised by Depression-era parents, right? And that nest egg was the value. And so if there was an overtime shift, I was like, oh, give it to me, I'll take it, right? Because I wanted to make more money. this generation isn't just drawn by that. They're drawn more by their time off. They value their personal time. And so you incentivize them with things like I had a very highly functioning command, and I was very proud of all 877 sailors, from the most junior enlisted to the most senior doctor, because everybody put their oars in the water and rowed in the same direction. And when you do that, you will get to your goal, right? You won't go in a circle if you're all going in the same direction.
That is wonderful, and it's great to hear that that's what you encountered.
So I need to bring
as a
that to
commander.
someplace in New Hampshire.
But you were set up. The stack was decked for you because, number one, we have an all-volunteer military. And the people who go and sign up to enlist in the United States Navy are, for the most part, come from the type of conservative families with conservative values. All right?
Some of them are there for education benefits.
Some of them are there.
Some are there for other
But,
reasons.
so that's stack number one. Stack number two, they all go through boot camp or OCS, right? So they all get torn down and built back
not
up
today.
into a team, and they're given those leadership skills and that motivation. It's that teamwork, those team skills are what are
they'll get
built
some team skills,
in boot camp.
but you also get
OCS.
training timeouts
So,
too.
so you, well, yeah, that I agree. Even that's going downhill, but the deck was stacked in your
But there
favor.
still is, you get all, with
The people you were working with are people who were trained to be these motivated
keep in mind,
individuals.
my people were
We
reservists.
have to be able to train them too.
My people were reservists. So my people
But were they
Monday.
always reservists?
Yeah, well, most of them are. Some of them had come through. It depended. You got the whole mix, right? My people were reservists, and so they were civilians Monday through Friday, and so I got them one weekend a month. Now, how we got them to behave differently in one weekend a month than they did Monday through Friday at their civilian jobs is
Well, they probably hated their civilian
false.
jobs, and this was a break.
Well, it all falls to leadership, right? But, I always believed in taking care of your people. And, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a real, it's definitely a real thing. When you can give people food, air, and shelter, they are going to find their way to self-actualization. And I don't care where that is. Now, you have to determine what people's food, air, and shelter is. Like, I had a senior captain who had a baby. And I knew her baby was only going to be an infant for a short period of time. And she had to travel to drill. And so I said, bring your baby to drill. It's only for a few months. And she outperformed everybody. And she got picked up for command because she was able to come do her job. Right before she had her baby, she came to me and she said, I'm thinking about leaving the Navy Reserve because I can't balance motherhood and babies. And she said, and I know that the military doesn't want me to bring my baby to work. I said, she's an infant for like 6 months. We can do anything for 6 months. It's 6 weekends. Like, you can bring your baby to work. Not only did I retain this individual, she went on and she is inspiring excellence where she goes. And you don't think she's taken that story with her and having some compassion for whatever the family issue is with her reservists going forward. And it works. I've seen it work, and it can work. I just need to find that job, ideally here in New Hampshire, where I can bring these leadership skills and really take an organization to its next level. Unfortunately, people don't want to make that financial investment into that, right? Whether it's retention of your talent, whether it's, and there are ways to retain people. The military set us up to not retain anybody. They put the blended retirement system, and that allows you at about the 10-year mark to take your money and run. It used to be you had to stay 20 years to get a pension, right? They've changed that now.
What?
Yep. So you pay into it in small increments, and at a certain point, 8 or 10 years, you can take your money that you've invested and say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. Well, think about what that does to the military.
well-
Those are our middle managers.
Those are that used to be like a rare thing. They needed to do a drawdown back in the
No.
back in the 90s. So they offered early retirement. Basically, bought my stepmother out and said, "Okay, here's a chunk. You can retire."
Right.
And my dad only had like 2 or 3 years left, so he stuck around for the
Right.
full retirement, right? But they were doing a deliberate drawdown because we had too many volunteers in the Army, in the Navy, et cetera. This was in the Navy. Nowadays, last year, the Pentagon came up 47,000 short.
Take your money and run.
Across. So what you're saying is that was like a one-time buyout where the Navy said, hey, we need to cut down on our forces.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're saying that the Navy is short, but it's still allowing people to leave and take this chunk of cash
Oh,
with
they're
them?
not only allowing people to leave, that is the way when you come in the military, if you enlist today in the United States military, you will be in the blended retirement system. What I get is not.
So it's a permanent program.
Correct. What my 20-year, you have to be vested at 20 years to get any money.
Yep.
So it incentivized you to stay 20 and to try to make rank so you could make 20. Because remember, making rank is also statutory. If you don't make your rank,
Right. You can't
You're
just
out.
keep re-enlisting
Right.
and,
They will
and
send
be a
you
first
packing.
class for 30 years.
Correct. They will send you
have
packing.
You have to make chief. You have to make master chief.
correct. Or you have to retire. And like as a
Right.
captain, you can only stay 30 years. And if you want to stay beyond 30 years, with the exception of the medical
You
community.
need the star.
Yeah. Well, with the exception of the medical community, because we know that
Yeah.
medical providers are harder to
You
keep
were at
in
like 32, right?
37.
37?
I did,
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was 32.
No, 37.
Wow.
So that blended retirement system now allows people, so all those millions of dollars we have spent on training, and we get people to that pivotal point that at 10 years they can go, I think I want to go. Those are your majors. Those are your, lieutenant commanders. Those are your captains, your, not Navy captains, but your Army captains, your middle managers. Those are your, E5s that were grooming for chief or whatever. And now we let them go. And so you get to start all over, or we advance people along because we got billets to fill who may not be fully and most qualified, but we have no other choice because that's what we're left with. And so it's, I think so now we've had an added additional complication with trying to retain. So how do we incentivize them? We do things like we have this really good education benefit. And if you're a really hard charger, we'll give you a 2-year pause so you can go get an advanced degree and we'll pay for it.
As long as it's not from Harvard.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want to move on to some different
Okay, let's
subjects. I haven't talked to you for a year.
Right.
So I have no idea where you stand. But I want to talk about a constitutional issue. And you're a lawyer.
I am.
So I want you to give me,
And a constitutional junkie.
all right? So I'm going to read through a few base items.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about the subject.
Okay, perfect.
All right. United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, House of Representatives. All right? You were a state representative.
I was a state.
And you were running for
Congress,
Congress.
CD2.
Yeah. Okay. No person shall be a representative who shall not have attained the age of 25 and been 7 years a citizen of the United States. And when elected, must be an inhabitant of the state in which they were chosen. All right. So 7 years you have to be a citizen to be a United States representative. Section 3, the Senate. No person shall be a senator who shall not have attained the age of 30 years and been 9 years a citizen of the United States. So you have to be a citizen of the United States for 9 years. Right? Article 2 of the Constitution, Section 1. No person except a natural-born citizen shall be eligible to the office of president. Neither shall they be eligible unless they've attained the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident of the United States. So in the United States Constitution, Article 1, which is the Congress, Article 2, which is the executive branch, and Article 3 is the judicial branch. So Article 1 very specifically says that you have to be a citizen of 7 years to be a rep and 9 years to be a senator. Article 2 says you have to be a natural-born citizen and resident of 14 years, meaning you can be a natural-born citizen, but you lived outside of the country for a year or two, but you have to have lived in the United States for 14 years in order to become president. All right, 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized to the United States are citizens of the United States and the state where they reside, the 14th Amendment. So the 14th Amendment basically says if you're born in the United States, that's a birthright. You're now a citizen of the United States. But it still makes a clear distinction. A citizen can be born on U.S. soil or naturalized to U.S. soil, and those citizens can hold office. But only a natural-born citizen may hold the office of president, so that it ensures sole allegiance. Both parents must be citizens at the time of birth to be considered natural-born. Michigan Law Review states that the generally agreed upon meaning of the relevant article, that anyone born on American soil whose parents are both citizens of the United States at the time is a natural-born citizen. Do you understand the difference, or do you agree at the difference between a birthright citizen and a natural-born citizen?
Yeah.
Okay. Nikki Haley was born on January 20th, 1972 in Bamberg, South Carolina. In 2015, Nikki Haley's office gave a statement to the South Carolina newspaper called The State. And the statement is this: Haley's parents were Indian immigrants who did not become U.S. citizens until after her birth in 1972. Her father, Ajit Randhawa, became a naturalized U.S. citizen in 1978, 6 years after she was born. Her mother, Raj Randhawa, I'm not pronouncing the last name properly, became a U.S. citizen in 2003, a year before Haley won her first seat in the South Carolina House. What does that tell you? How do you feel about that?
Well,
Like I said, I don't know who you're supporting. You haven't said a word to me.
Yeah. Well, from what you read, she does not meet the criteria to be president of the United States.
In 1898, Supreme Court decision, Wong Kim Ark.
How is is her husband's name Haley? Is that how she has?
So Nikki was born.
What's her birth name?
Nimrata Nikki Randhawa
Okay.
was her born name. They're from Punjab, India.
Okay.
Is what they're from. 1898 Supreme Court decision, Wong Kim Ark. The court was asked to decide whether Wong Kim Ark was a United States citizen, born in the United States while the parents were legal residents of the United States, but they were Chinese citizens. And the Supreme Court, and this was 1898, the Supreme Court ruled that that Wong was in fact a United States citizen by birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment. And that Wong's parents did not have to be U.S. citizens in order for Wong to be a citizen. Mm-hmm. But Wong was just exactly that, a citizen. The court never actually stated that there was a difference between birthright citizenship and natural-born citizenship. What the court didn't do was merge these together. Mm-hmm. The court said this is a birthright citizen, and the court never addressed the idea of natural-born citizenship.
Has anybody brought this to the attention of the Supreme Court for them to opine on it and make a decision? Have we ever had a president or a presidential candidate who fit this category?
There was the whole birther movement under Obama, but we understand his grandmother was his mother was a United States citizen, and his father was a dual citizen.
And
at
he
the time
had a
that
Hawaii
he was born in
birth
Hawaii.
certificate.
Right. So he was born in Hawaii.
Yeah.
There's conspiracy theories, but he was born in Hawaii. The information we have
for everything that's been provided to us.
Born in Hawaii to a father who had dual citizenship and a mother who had U.S. citizenship. So that's the closest we ever came.
So read me the 14th Amendment again.
All right, so the 14th Amendment, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. So it clearly says that they are citizens
Once they're naturalized.
once they're naturalized.
Okay, now back up to Article 2.
So Article 2, no person except a natural-born citizen.
Okay, so you have to be born on soil here.
Well, natural-born is, again, if we take a look at what Michigan law says, anyone born on American soil whose parents are both citizens of the United States at the time.
So, I mean, that would really take a Supreme Court decision to determine whether or not, first of all, Michigan's law, when it comes to natural-born or however they define citizen, is constitutional based on the U.S. Constitution and the 14th Amendment, and case law that's led up to that, if it were Supreme Court decisions, I would think.
So the wording in the Constitution itself is very important, right? In Article 1, we talk about citizens being able to hold office of representatives and Senate. In Article 2, we talk about natural-born citizens being able to hold the office of president.
Right.
And so the question then becomes, well, maybe it was just a writing error, maybe, what did the founders intend?
I don't think the founders added natural born unless they intended to.
Exactly.
But there's got to be some sort of journals, some sort of papers where they've written what their intent is.
And there are. I'm just about to bring that up.
Okay, bring it up. Read it to me, because I'm going to tell you, I haven't read this stuff yet.
So the Constitutional Convention was convened between May 25th and September 17th, 1787. So between May and September. So the Constitutional Convention was all summer. During that Constitutional Convention, we were still working under the Articles of Confederation and et cetera, et cetera. But during that Constitutional Convention, the governor of New York sent a letter to George Washington, who was at the Constitutional Convention. He may not have been one of the delegates, but he was essentially the president of the Congress at the time, because we hadn't been. So anyway. And John Jay, governor of New York, very specifically, this is in July of 1787, permit me to hint whether it would not be wise and seasonable to provide a strong check to the admission of foreigners into the administration of our national government, and to declare expressly that the command-in-chief of the American army shall not be given to nor devolved on but a natural-born citizen. So we actually have letters, discussions during the drafting of the Constitution saying natural-born citizen. That wording is very specific for a very specific reason.
Well, I can imagine that our founding fathers, many of whom came from England or whatever, they were probably adamant that we didn't have some piece of royalty come over here that wasn't born on U.S. soil and try to rule the country, right? And so it wouldn't surprise me that they would intentionally put in natural, born citizen. So
anyway, this came to my attention last week, and it kind of blows my mind. Nikki Haley's polling somewhere in the 30% range for New Hampshire, and that's just New Hampshire. Nationally, she's still in the single digits, just like every other candidate, aside from Trump. So the national polls are still showing everybody. I think maybe DeSantis and Ramaswamy might be in the low double digits, in the teens somewhere. But essentially, everybody's in the single and teens polling. But here in New Hampshire, Nikki Haley's polling at like 30%. And I read the Constitution maybe a little bit different than everybody else. But that just came to my attention. I don't know that it's made any headway nationally.
I wonder if I would hope, I would think that there's somebody out there keeping check, whether it's secretaries of state or somebody in D.C. that's as folks are registering, or coming in and filing with their intent to run for president, that they're vetting these, and if there is a question, that these are being raised to the Supreme Court, because ultimately it's the Supreme Court of the United States who's going to
I think we're in a position here where no one's willing to ask the questions.
Well, we can't
That's what I
rely
think.
on Michigan law, right? Because the 10th Amendment
Well, that's not
also
Michigan
says,
law. It's a university that has
Defined it?
published.
Oh, okay.
They're just publishing opinions, right?
Oh, okay.
But I guess what I'm saying is, that, between the letters to George Washington and in 1787 and Michigan law in 2008 and everything in between, the term natural-born citizen has really never changed its meaning.
Well, when it comes to, the Constitution hasn't defined natural-born citizen other than you have to be born in the United States, right? But does it expressly say by two parents who are U.S. citizens? Because we see this all the time with the immigrants that come over from Mexico, and that's why we have
That's what the 14th Amendment was for. There's birthright citizenship, and then there's natural-born citizenship.
Right. And so
I think most of the case law is around the 14th Amendment, whether or not these people are or aren't citizens, right?
I would hope
the whole
that
anchor baby thing.
Right. And I would hope that, with Nikki Haley polling as well as she is in the state of New Hampshire, that if she were not qualified, it would be a tragedy for her and her campaign to find out she isn't qualified to be president of the United States. And, with after all this money and effort and time, if she's not qualified, she's never going to be qualified, right?
Right.
That's not a thing you can go back and change.
Well, I'm not passing any judgment on
No,
her
I'm not either.
character or her
me either.
veracity as a conservative whatsoever. I'm just looking at what I
Right.
see from existing case
and I
law. I
think
got
it's-
two Supreme Court cases that indicate what is birthright citizenship versus natural-born citizenship, and we've got the Constitution. So
Imagine the chaos if she is a nominee and she is elected, and then somebody of another party who wants to oust her. They are quick to impeach these days, right? Last election, last presidency, we saw this. They were very quick to impeach for literally any reason.
Don't
Right.
have any illusions. Whenever a conservative gets back into that White House, we're going to see it. It is
Yeah.
the status quo
And
from
if
now
they
going
want to
forward.
impeach her based on a technicality, it's better to know now than, God forbid, if she's our president and they impeach her because of her questionable, eligibility to be our
Right.
president. And I'm not saying that as a, pro or against. I think that just is common sense that you would take a look at that before you,
I would think we need
yeah.
to discuss it at some
So,
point.
well, hopefully it'll spark the question, and I don't know. I don't know much about that. Just what you read to me in this hour-long conversation, but it sounds like it raises a question.
All right, let's get on to some absurd things.
Okay.
I like absurdities.
Okay.
So
Okay, so
JP,
that
have
just felt a little Gary Hopper-ish.
I'm sorry.
I miss him so much, but go ahead.
So JP and I started spending at least a few minutes going through absurd news stories.
Oh, okay.
And so this isn't really an absurd news story, but somebody actually made the observation that Joe Biden, his approval ratings are actually lower than his vice president's approval rating, Kamala Harris. But at the same time, Kamala Harris's current approval ratings are actually lower than Dick Cheney's approval ratings after he shot a guy in the face. So I thought that was an interesting. I thought that was an interesting observation.
Oh my goodness.
Somebody walked into McDonald's the other day. What state? I'm not sure what state. I can't tell you. Where is it? I can't see it. I can't see what state. Somebody walked into McDonald's, ordered a chicken sandwich, got it wrapped in a McDonald's paper wrapper, and it had blue stripes on it. Well, they didn't like the blue stripes, so they went back in and they complained, and they filmed themselves complaining that McDonald's supports Israel because there's blue stripes on their chicken wrappers.
Do the chicken wrappers normally come with blue wrappers? Blue stripes?
They have a series of wrappers: blue, red,
Right,
yellow,
based on- okay.
and
Right, because I
they're
worked at McDonald's in high
interchangeable.
school. Well, no, I worked at McDonald's in high school, and
so-
there's like everything in McDonald's
So-
is patented, right?
So now everything with blue stripes is suddenly
Oh, is that banned
abhorrent
now?
and yeah, because it supports Israel.
Oh my goodness.
And then this one, we got a couple minutes, so
Okay.
so this story here, somebody compiled a list of everything that became racist in 2023.
Oh, what's racist in 2023?
So this is everything, if you're associated with any of these things, you're racist. Not wearing a mask is racist. A black cop who kills a black man is racist. Senator Tim Scott is racist. Cleanliness is racist.
What?
A clean pantry is racist. If you're organized and you have your pantry cleaned, that says that you're racist. I won't go into the details of all of them, but there are actual news articles behind this where people are complaining. The fast food industry is racist. Shakespeare is racist. Frankenstein is racist. Edgar Allan Poe's work is racist. To Kill a Mockingbird is racist. The whole point of that book is to expose racism in the system. But the book itself is considered racist now. BMI is racist because apparently minorities have higher BMI than anyone else. Healthcare in general is racist. Medical record keeping is racist. Public health departments are racist. Clowns are racist. Disney's is racist. Wonka is racist.
What?
Mozart, Beethoven, Chopin, Rachmaninoff, Verdi, all racist. Music, try that in a small town, racist. Elementary music classes are racist because minorities don't excel at. Music education programs in general are racist because Americans don't excel. The American flag is racist. The Gadsden flag is racist. Art therapy as an occupation itself is apparently racist. Paul the Apostle is racist. All conservatives are racist. Abe Lincoln is racist. DeSantis, Trump, Haley, Ramaswamy, Pence, Chris Christie, all declared racist in 2023. The outdoors is racist in 2023. Indiana University is racist. All of Florida is racist. The entire state is considered racist.
Oh, my family who lives there isn't going to be happy to hear that.
Botanical gardens are racist. Law enforcement is racist. The Princeton's honor code is racist. Apparently, it favors white folks. Apparently, somehow. Immigration is racist, or Immigration and Customs Enforcement is racist. We knew that, right? Mm-hmm. Kansas City Chief is racist. Hockey itself is racist. White paint is racist. Biology is racist. Math, engineering, dance, robots, dating apps, white people. The word field is racist.
F-I-E-L-D?
Yep, as in your field of study. Your field, the word field pertaining to a is considered racist.
Okay.
And then word limits on admissions are racist because I don't know, but admissions tests where there's a essay test and word limits, those are racist. We have to go. Lynn, thank you for coming.
Thank you. It's always
we
a
went up to the
pleasure.
line here, so we have to go. We'll see you next week. We'll see you at the Wilson Hill Pistol Club in 5 minutes. So.